They let us out at Treasure Island and offloaded us there and went to Alameda. Got 30 days leave and then reported back in, and I was assigned to Patrol Squadron 61, and we went to the Aleutians then. 1940, about July, I think, of 42, we went to the Aleutians.
Is that when they were building, landing? As I know they built some
Yeah, the
place where you could
CBs
land.
were, yeah, they were working up there, and we went to, we went first for straight seaplanes, and we were operating out of Dutch Harbor and I guess at Kuluk
Attu.
Bay or somewhere there, and then we came back, turned those in for amphibians so we could operate from runways also. So they had, anyway, they had in the side of the hull, they dropped the wheels down, you know, and we land on runways. So the Army had built runways up there for their aircraft, so we used those also. But we were about, I think, the strip we had on Amchitka was about, I think, 64 miles from Kiska Harbor, and the Japanese were still there, you know. So we'd cover for the Army, when they'd go in for bombings, air strafing, well, we'd fly outside the harbor there, and in case one went down, well, we could pick them up. And one night, I don't, well, our crew didn't pick up any, but I think we picked up, in the squadron, one of the planes had picked up a P-40 pilot that had been out one of the other islands on a raid, and he'd ditched up north of there, and they picked him up. And then one had been on I guess a float plane or something or other, and he went down at sea, but they never did get to him. So
What time of year were you up in Alaska?
well, just throughout the year, I don't know the timeline we would, but I know we spent winter up there as well as the.
What was that like?
It's cold. Yeah, and they did, you know, after the war was over, well, you know, the temperature had to be, what was it? You had a combination of 40 degrees and 25 knots of wind, I think, and you could wear your foul weather jacket. Otherwise, you had to wear just a regular jacket, you know. It was, you know, stupid. But anyway, that's the way it was.
In all of this, did you ever have the opportunity to communicate with your family
Well, by letter,
by letter?
yeah. One time when one would come back from a cruise, westback cruise, well, we'd tie up to dock and we'd stand in line over for one of a pay telephone that was on the dock, and you might be a half hour before you could get to it. The guys had run out of quarters, well, they'd have to hang up, so the next guy got it. So, so that, we had no cell phones then.
Of course.
And with whom did you communicate? Your mom?
Well, let's see, we were married in 44. We got back in October 43. I met this beautiful nurse over on a date one time, and one of the guys, I was a chief, and she was, this one that had a date with her was a first class that worked for me. And, they got a date with a nurse anesthetist that was a friend of hers that worked at the hospital there. And when we'd be talking, her eyebrows would keep,
She was
coming up.
expressive.
So we got up, put a nickel in the jukebox, and we asked her for a dance, and Then I asked for a date while we were dancing. She accepted, and so 4 months later we were married.
Wow.
And you went back to active duty.
I was still on active duty. I was still,
So she,
I spent 20 years, or 19 years, 6 months and 10 days.
there you go.
Active duty, qualified for 20.
And much of that time you were separated from your
A
family
lot of it, well,
on a ship.
yeah, well, seaplane tender or carrier or just in the, what's patrol squadron that would sleep on board the tender and fly patrols from that.
And during that time doing your radio operations job.
And then we didn't get radar until 1942, I think it was. And that was very secret stuff. We went to the Aleutians, not even any schematics, so just the equipment. It was Canadian built. Everything was directly wired, no terminal boards or anything. I think they call it the ASE. Later on, we got American built. I think it's built by General Electric or somewhere. And that was laid out on circuit boards and stuff in there. But there was no printed circuits at that time, but still, it wasn't just random wire around there. And so that was, in the cold, wet weather, you'd have to turn that thing on for about a half hour on standby power to get it dry out before, otherwise it'd be arcing all over the place. Anyway, it was fairly primitive then. But I tell you, I really liked the radar, and we could, as it developed better, well, I could put the pilot down at the end of the runway with the radar there.
Wow.
So it was airborne GCA, basically ground approach control. They got those units in, which was very nice. And,
Made your job easier.
oh yeah, well they directed pilot in with her radar.
Right.
So, but in that, I liked the using the radar, especially when we'd have be practicing out there, and you'd have a boat or something going across, and you'd set that up and get that thing where you'd be in instead of a race course type of a racetrack approach. Well, you'd do an intercept. You set that thing up, and where he'd be coming right down a lubber line to the center of your scope, and you were on his. You're going to intercept him, and so we did a lot of practice with that. I liked that type of a thing because
Accuracy.